Luke?
Well, yeah, but it's such a fabric of. I always stipulate it's not for everybody, okay? Because you read your interviews and you realize that it sounds sort of pompous to say that it's so important to people because it's not. I mean, it's escapist entertainment. It's therapeutic, and I think people need that in their lives. But when you hear these stories face to face, that it got to me through my mother's illness, or I met my future wife online, and by the sequel we had twins named Luke and Leia. I mean, you go, what? It's just amazing, and it never gets old. I mean, sometimes you struggle just to, not get choked up, because you don't realize, because, I had a beginning, a middle, and end, and then you move on, and you sort of marginalize it. Plus, you have to do sort of the Etch-a-Sketch head because you have to make room to memorize more lines. So I've forgotten more than I remember. The fans know way more than I do. They'll ask me questions, and my son kept saying, "Stop embarrassing yourself." I said, "Well, I don't know what Kazakh is." Because that's the Wookiee planet. I said, nobody told me. And it's spelled like Kyzz, one of those goofy George Lucas names. Those unpronounceable names that makes you think that he just filled out some Scrabble letters and rearranged them and said, "Yeah, let's name him Dooku." Why not? It's Star Wars, we get away with anything.
So the reason I bring this up though is that you get a script now from a guy who I imagine you guys didn't know each other before, and he's got his ideas about what Luke is going to be like in this next movie, and you've got your ideas. Is there some reconciliation that has to happen? Do you fight for certain things?
Well, the first thing I did was rent all of his movies. Yeah. And so I watched Brothers Bloom and Brick and Looper, and I thought, I can't pigeonhole this guy, because they're all so different. Usually, they tend to return to certain themes, or, there's just certain things that you recognize. And so I couldn't figure him out. I still can't quite. But no, he came out to the house and we hung out and, talked about the movies, just to get to know each other, sort of. You came to the portion where you go, well, okay, it's really been nice talking, the wrap-up thing. And then I didn't want him to leave, so I said, "You want to go into my TV room and watch Sergeant Bilko?" He'd never seen a Sergeant Bilko.
I never seen him.
So I had to figure out what episode should I show him. I showed him the court-martial where they accidentally induct a monkey into the army. My father was in the military, and it's just such a great parody of bureaucracy and red tape, because everyone's trying to save face, and they realize that the only way they can get rid of him without being in trouble is to court-martial him. I'm sorry to turn this into a discussion. So Sergeant Bilko, I sidetracked. We're really tired. I don't know what time zone we're in. Because we went to Tokyo, New Mexico, Berlin. My favorite were Mexico and Berlin and Tokyo, because if you could give really long, involved answers, you can rest during the translation. You have to pace yourself, I'm old.
Well, so let me ask you guys. I'm sorry to bring down the mood a little bit, but I mean, one of the things here that I wonder for you when you watch this movie, obviously, there's it's extra moving to see these scenes with Mark and Carrie, and I just wonder for you guys, as you now kind of process, you put this out into the world, you're seeing other people reacting. What's that like for you to go back and watch? Maybe we can start with Mark and ask and jump in after.
I can't, I can't. She's so present, I don't know if I'm still in denial or, because she should be here. And so I just sort of look down and I listen to it.
Yeah.
I say goodbye to her in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't know that I was really saying goodbye. So it takes on a melancholy that the film doesn't deserve. You know, you want the drama to be on the screen and not in real life. And, you know, her timing was impeccable, except this time. And, you know, she got an Emmy nomination. She's wonderful in the movie. She's meant to be much more prominent in the next one. So, you know, and then you have Billy. And there's so much of Carrie and Billy. More Debbie than Carrie, because I think Billy's much more grounded than Carrie. Mm-hmm. Carrie was a handful. But always fun. That's why, I mean, like on 7 and mostly on 8, because I'd come out to the studio to do whatever, wardrobe or stunt training or whatever, and if she was in, I'd make a beeline to her trailer, because it was impossible not to have fun in her presence.
If I can just mention one fun fact that I came upon in one of your many other, you know, comments recently about working on these movies, is it possible that you and she might have actually kissed during the making of the first one? Was there some Luke and Leia?
I had done a soap opera with the girl I was living with, and we acted on the audition like we didn't know each other. How do you do? What do you do? And after the audition, they said, "Wow, you kids have a tremendous amount of rapport." And we said, "Well, we're just good actors." And then when we got the part, and they delivered the scripts to the same apartment, they said, "This is, 72? It's not cool." I'm sure they do incest stories all the time now. But at that time, they said, you know, if they find out you've seen in public holding hands and stuff, we'll have to fire you. With Carrie and I, there was an instant attraction, but it's like, I don't want to make that same mistake. Because, you know, the relationships are bound to go south at some point, and then you're committed to making more movies. So yeah, we made some, I'm sure alcohol was involved, but we were talking about kissing techniques, you know, as a pretext, and, you know, we discussed that. Next thing we were like necking like teenagers.
It's uncomfortable for me because it's the third week of our shoot, and I was just like, no, okay.
He's impossible to dislike. Impossible.
So, Ram and Ryan, how did it come to be that there are now going to be, there's a whole nother